Yeah,
oh my
absolutely.
god! Especially in the '80s, like we all, and nobody remembers that pre-internet days. Playing video games was like, was a different entity back then because you really had to work at a video game. It was all about pain and agony.
Well, you have like games nowadays, you get shot at and then you just hide and you recover real quick.
Yeah.
Like back then, you die. You have 3 lives,
you're
no
done.
continues.
It's
you're
over.
You're done. I mean, like, Rob Man was mentioning, you know, Mega Man and how difficult those games were.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, those weren't the only ones. They were all very difficult because they were kind of short, but they had to make them difficult to make the replay value
Oh,
higher.
definitely.
Right.
You're spending $80 on a video game back then.
Yeah.
You know, but what was I going to say about like video games back then and stuff like that? But yeah, we were talking about it earlier on that there wasn't as many video games back then. There's a lot of clutter, but a lot of, you know, A-star games.
Yeah,
type of thing. So when you bought a game back then and spent $80 on it as a kid, you were getting another game for a bunch of months. So you better get your money's worth.
Right.
And so I think it's funny. People ask me, how many games have you beaten on the shelf? Actually, quite a lot. Quite a lot. Because that's what you did back then. You actually finished video games. Now, it's kind of funny. There's so many games that it's turned kids into video game gigolos. That's the term I use.
Yeah.
They're a little bit of this game and a little bit of that game, but nothing, you know. You don't have sometimes that much time to really fall in love with a particular game or maybe a series. And I'm oversimplifying that a little bit, you know. But I find this generation, there's so many more games. Like every month, and because we get older, you can afford everything now. So it's like, yeah, there's all these games now. It's like, you know, like over there, I got, you know, Transformers, you know, the fight for Cybertron. I forget what the hell is it called. The War for Cybertron, you know, I got Dragon Age, you know, Demon Souls. Look at all these games, and some of those are a little bit older, but just there's so much. You know, like you can't see my 360 collection up there, and the 360 collection over there too. Yeah. It's just freaking. It's
impressive, man.
It's crazy. It's just crazy how much is out.
Are you excited for the future of gaming? You think that gaming's going the right direction, or like I know with
we talked about this tonight a bit too.
You know, with future downloadable content and stuff like that, what do you think it's a good direction for gaming, or?
I don't think it will fly right now with the infrastructure of the internet. Like it will be to download a game that's like maybe 5 gigs or something. But when it gets to games that are like, you know, we're playing on Blu-ray that are 60 gigs, you can't download that.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how they'll get by that. I think for some arcade titles and all that, it's working. It's making sense. Capcom, how much money do they make of Mega Man 9 and 10?
Yeah, sure.
You know, type of thing. But the future of gaming, this is what I'm thinking. I was in Future Shop. Best Buy the other day, and I saw a demo of 3D video games. I saw MotorStorm in 3D, and I was like, I was like, you know, I went up a cliff.
Glasses, or
yeah, you have to wear glasses, and you went over a cliff, and I was like this. I was like, oh my god, you know. And then when we were driving through the jungle, like the trees, I was like, oh, I was moving out of the way, and I thought. That's cool.
Yeah,
and I thought first-person shooters that way would be very cool.
Yeah.
Racing games would be amazing. And Gran Turismo and all that is coming out in 3D. And I think, you know, MotorStorm is in 3D as well. But I think that's the future of gaming. I'm not jumping and buying a 3D TV. I think most of the people out there are not going to buy a 3D TV yet. But maybe in the future.
I saw YouTube has a 3D feature where you can actually upload videos and do it to 3D. You see that?
But wouldn't you need 3D glasses? I don't know anything about that.
You would.
You would.
But it's like, I don't know, I found out about it. Even there's certain ways of 3D. There's certain way you can cross your eyes and it pops out in 3D. And it's weird.
Yeah, they have 2 lenses, right, filming at the same time. I don't know the technology. I'm not.
But you're right. You need glasses, like those blue and red glasses, and I'm sure 99.9% of the viewers probably don't have those on them, so it'd be kind of a blur.
Yeah.
You know, if it was like an option to see it, it'd be kind of cool, but if you just had to upload your video...
I think that's never going to catch on, but it's cool they have the future shows that they're trying to do different types of things and all that, but future video games, I think 3D. It's like everything. Where's cinema going to go? It can only go 3D.
Yeah.
Unless they bring in smell-o-vision, and I don't think that'd be a good idea, right? You know, that's too funny still.
Wouldn't really work with first-person shooters, smell-o-vision.
Yeah. You know, isn't it funny? We could actually just do multiple episodes. We could just talk about 80s cartoons. Imagine just sitting here talking about 80s. You could do tons of them, right?
Yeah.
Bore the audience. There's so much stuff we could sit and talk about. It'd be crazy.
We're ranting here, and you know, for those who have stayed around, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thanks for sticking around. I wouldn't bore you too much.
So, how did you meet Rob Man?
Rob Man, yeah, I guess nobody kind of knows. I just think he's some guy who's just on the show. We happen to be friends, but I've known Rob for 20 years plus now. And the first time I met him, this is funny because I didn't actually hang out with Rob Man. I hung out with his older brother, who's 1 year older than me at the time. And this is in high school, like. Actually before that, 1987ish type of thing, and hung out with him. And it's kind of funny. This is like he was Rob's brother was called Gordon, and he had this younger brother called Rob, and Rob was a small kid back then. Is that kind of funny? You can't see him there. He had hair. Honest to God, I don't lie. He had hair, and so anyways, this is the funny thing. You'll be able to relate to this.
Sure.
In the late 80s, when Ninja Turtles came out, and I bought the comic book when it first came out, and it was dark and edgy, and we all read the comic book, and we were like so excited because a cartoon was coming out. The Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Absolutely.
And we're like, oh my God, we can't wait. So we actually all had a sleepover at Gordon's place. So we all were in our sleeping bags. We played video games. We all passed out. And then this is a video game memory for anybody out there. This is a funny one. I'm sleeping in my sleeping bag, and we were all getting up at like 9 in the morning to watch the first Ninja Turtles cartoon on TV. And I'm in I remember waking up, and I hear Metroid music. And I'd never played the game at that time. I'm like, what is that? And Rob is sitting right in front of me playing Metroid, right next to the TV. He has the volume real low. And I woke up and I kind of sat there and I was just coming around and I was like, oh, it's a video game. I love video games, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what are you playing? I said, what are you playing? He's like, oh, I'm playing Metroid. It's pretty awesome.
It was a Mega Man.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they just got that Christmas. It's pretty funny. And he was so into it, and I said, oh, what's this? And he started talking to me. We started talking about. It's not funny. That's when we started talking about video games. And then what ended up happening is that I didn't talk to Rob for. Well, I didn't talk to him. He was my friend's younger brother. He was just, and I never had a chance because Gordon would always make him leave the room. To go, no, my friend's over, you gotta go. Yeah. And Rob was always like, no, I want to join in. And he's, what a bad brother, I tell you. But it wasn't until years later that I bumped into Rob. I'd come to England and I come back, and I saw this guy walking down the road wearing a black trench coat, this black fedora, and these shades, and I'm like, who is this Nazi? You know, type of thing. These purple shades actually. I'm like, who's this guy? And I pulled up beside him, and he's like, hey man, how you doing? And I'm like, hey Rob, I didn't recognize you because he was so much older than that kid that I remembered, right? And I saw Rob in high school and stuff like that, but I hadn't bumped into him for a couple of years. And we're talking, and I said, hey, here's my number. I said, we should hang out, play some games. He said, you still go games? He said, oh yeah, man, I'm hardcore game. I'm like, yeah, me too. And this is still before the internet, right? And so it was like cool to meet people who play video games, right?
Yeah, sure.
So we traded numbers, and he came over. And he brought over his like Super Nintendo, and we played like Super Bomberman, and then we got addicted to Super Bomberman. That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
We became competitive Bomberman players against each other. Still to this day, we'll play Super Bomberman on the Super Nintendo. We will stalemate each other. We cannot beat each other.
Huh.
We'll play for like an hour, and we know each other's tricks, and we'll probably do that on this show one time because it's really a lot of fun. But yeah, and then that started our friendship, and then every night we started hanging out, playing games, and talking about video game memories. And so me and Rob did the show for years before we did the show.
Yeah.
So it was funny that you were hanging with us tonight, and then we were both talking. And it was kind of like an episode of the show.
It was like an episode of the show.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of what translated into the show. And it's like, why didn't I think of bringing Rob on right from the beginning? But you know, you never think. You just start a show. You're like, I don't think it's gonna catch on this show.
I think you said it earlier on this video. Your chemistry is just really.
Yeah,
works really well.
Yeah, we've known each other for years. That really helps. So we know all these inside jokes, and we talk in movie quotes. That's actually what a lot of people don't know with me and Rob. We actually talk in movie quotes all the time. It's really funny. He does
quote a lot of random like movie.
Yeah, and I know everyone he's quoting. You know,
like his one-liners too. Like
he's good.
Great, yeah.
He's good. He's really good that way.
That's great.
He's awesome. But really good. Really good for the show, and people love him, and it's awesome.
His impersonations are spot on too. It's pretty incredible.
Oh my god. He's the only guy I know who can impersonate anybody. I think he did that on Blog TV for a lot of people. Yeah. But wow, he was something else. Yeah.
Is there some